Should you double major in college? What are the advantages? What are the drawbacks? My name is Arnold and I recently graduated Yale with a double major in theater and performance studies and political... My name is Arnold and I recently graduated Yale University with a double major in political science and theater and performance studies. And in this video, I'll be giving you my thoughts, experience, and advice on double majoring in college. The first tip is before you double major, genuinely ask yourself, why do you want to double major? I know that this seems like a little bit of an obvious no-brainer question, but have you actually tried out different classes? Have you asked other people about their experiences? Have you learned about specific departments and what they can offer you? Do these majors somewhat align with your career goals, whether specific or broad? Regardless, you should start by asking yourself these questions as well as asking people close to you, friends, academic advisors, seniors. Also, don't be afraid to be proactive and go to those academic fairs at the beginning of the school that kind of look like those school science fair project thingies. You'll be able to open up your mind, spark curiosity, and take that first step in assessing whether or not this is for you. Also, don't worry too much about it because so many people change their majors and add majors throughout their career. I've seen this personally at Yale, so don't worry about it too much. The next thing to consider is to be realistic about your choices. For example, do you truly love both of these majors? Why are you doing them? You have to look at details such as how many classes total do you have to take per major. Double majoring in theater and political science were definitely both very time consuming because I ended up taking around, I think, 12 courses per major, which means that the vast majority of my classes at Yale fell into one of these academic disciplines. You have to be realistic and reflect on your college goals more broadly. For example, do you want to have time for extracurriculars, social life, classes that are more easy and chill? These are all things you have to consider because double majoring is definitely time consuming, but it is worth it in my opinion, and you can definitely make it work while balancing all of these other aspects. I mentioned this earlier, but the next tip is to consult everybody, especially your dean, academic advisor, first year advisor, whatever academic resources that you have, use them. Ultimately, the decision is yours and you should trust your own instincts, but it's almost always helpful to have a third party objectively view your situation. It'll also be super helpful asking upperclassmen who are planning on studying your majors, as well as people who might have potentially used that specific combo of double majors. The next tip is to consider a joint major option. This really depends on the specific college that you go to, but at Yale, for example, let's say that you want to major in computer science and theater and performance studies. You can very much do that, but there's also an option called computing and the arts, which is only one major. This major is pretty flexible, interdisciplinary, and you can sort of design it at your own will. I don't know the exact logistics, but I know that some friends who do this take some computer science classes as well as some arts classes of their choosing, whether it's theater or painting, I think, or graphic design or whatever. And they essentially combine their interests and they don't have to take as many credits as they would have taken if they decided to major in theater and computer science separately. The next tip is to start early. Now, this is a little bit of a harsh truth, but the earlier you decide on your decision, that was kind of redundant, the earlier you make your decision, the better. This is for many reasons, but for one, it isn't as stressful if you commit early because now you know what is it that you have to specifically take in terms of classes, and you can design your curriculum pretty stress-free as you go on from your first year to your senior year. It also gives you the freedom of dispersing your classes and requirements in the way that is best for you, because although it's possible, and I do have friends who have switched their majors entirely junior year, senior year. For example, let's say they switch their major from history to math. No, that's not real. Okay, that's not realistic. Let's say they switch their major from math to history. Usually what happens is that in their senior and junior year, they already sort of have those credits from history. So they only need to take a few more classes to fully achieve the distributional requirements for that history major. Overall, starting early allows you to have less stress, provides you more flexibility and time, and I think it's something they should be aware of. The next tip is to eat the frog, and by that I mean to do all of the hard things first if possible. This one might not work for everybody, but for me personally, I did everything I could to get the prerequisite classes for both the theater studies major as well as the political science major done as soon as possible. This gave me the freedom to enjoy different classes throughout the year. This leads to the next tip, which is to choose fun and hopefully easy classes. Like I mentioned earlier, double majoring is time consuming, so might as well choose classes that are interesting to you, that are fun, and that are hopefully easy. You know, those easy A classes are really great, especially because you have two majors to account for. So drop your ego aside. I know that this is supposed to be a part of like intellectual curiosity and exploring, but realistically, especially double majoring, man, like you gotta, come on. Come on. Choose the easy and fun classes when you can, because there are going to be those classes that are unavoidable and that are going to be hell. Do yourself a favor. The next tip is to make friends in those majors and make study groups. This is great for many reasons. For one, you have people to do problem sets and homework assignments with. Second, you have people to struggle with together. And the third is that you can collaborate, you can learn from each other. And whenever there is a point where you have to collaborate, for example, in my theater studies major, at the end of the year for the senior thesis projects, you have the option to collaborate with your other peers, So for example, I could be writing a project and the other person could be directing that project, and another senior could be acting in that project. But even for smaller things as well, such as tackling group projects, preparing for an exam together, as well as just making friends, I think you really can't go wrong with this option. The next tip is to consider your senior thesis project requirements. In general, when working towards a bachelor degree, your major probably has some sort of like final senior thesis project, whether it's like a paper or a project of some sort. Make sure you're aware of this because it might be difficult juggling both senior thesis projects in the same semester, which is what I did. I wrote a whole entire paper for my political science senior thesis, as well as wrote, produced, and acted in a play for my theater studies major, which you can watch over here, somewhere over here. Some majors don't have a senior thesis final project. For example, I think the economics major at Yale doesn't have one at all. You might even be able to figure out ways to combine the projects together, but that's something that you have to discuss with your academic advisor and dean specifically. Next tip is that if you decide to drop one of the majors, add a new one, switch, drop both or whatever, that is completely okay. To be honest, like the whole entire bachelor's degree thing is very overrated unless you are, applying to like medical school or law school or all those other stable professions. But that's another point. In general, it doesn't really matter your bachelor's degree really. There's so many people I know who are like in the post-grad adulting, like real life world, who do things that do not relate at all to their major. At the end of the day, your major is just one line on your resume, and ultimately when it comes to finding a job, it's how you can create that story with your resume, which is a combination of like your majors, what skills did you learn from them, what classes did you take, what are the other extracurricular activities and the internships and summer opportunities that you did. For example, I'll be working as a strategy and research coordinator at NBC Universal, which I think is a good blend of both my creative side from theater studies as well as my more analytical side from political science. Like seriously, who would have thought that a theater degree can get you somewhere? Like I don't know. Another bonus tip is to maybe double major in things that might be different. For example, when I exhausted my creative brain, more broadly speaking, with my theater studies major, I then transitioned to my more analytical side with the political science. Just do what's best for you, follow your heart, but also listen to some academically qualified and experienced people as well. All right, that's it for me. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell notification icon. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you want to see next, and I will now transition below this tripod.